Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's August 7th, 2026, and you have happened upon our meeting of Sharing the Word, where currently we are reading Divine Union, written by the Guides Through Paul Selig. And I'm your host today, and Amy is your facilitator. And we have a 7-minute clip of the guides to listen to. And then when we get back, we'll take it from there. So I'm so glad that you've all joined me, and I will share the clip.
We see you before us, comprehending yourselves in the forms that you have utilized to know your reality. As the form you have taken begins to acclimate to the higher field, the lower bodies, or if you wish, the aspects of self that have accrued experiential density, must resolve. And by this we simply mean that what has been held in darkness within the body must be moved. Now, this may include your ideas of things that are held in form identified as pain, or as miasma, or as something that you would wish to fix. But also understand that much of what is held in the body is the result of past thought, and the agreement to separation, which you have all accrued vast evidence for, claims the entire body at a level of density that must be countered. Now, you do understand that when you pour clean water into a glass with silt that has accumulated at the bottom, the silt will rise to the surface, and one may experience the release of the silt as it rises and the glass begins to overflow. And you do understand that in time, the water continuing to pour into the glass will be clear, where what has been moved to the surface has been released. And do understand that in this instruction there are aspects of self that has utilized separation as protection, or who demand separation to be their stead, or who would require separation to continue in a belief that it is a requirement for being. These aspects of self will in some ways confound the light or seek to counteract the teaching. In fact, the divine self or the true self cannot be deterred, and once it is activated in the claim, "I have come," it will announce itself at the cost of all things. All things, all things, all things, used in the same manner. Now, to understand that the shift that the body undertakes when one begins to accrue evidence of the divine is vast and is far more than you may imagine, would be to understand that what you have held in shadow, conforming now to the light that would shine upon it, may seek to hide, may seek to refuge in the shadows that it has claimed as itself. But do understand this: the determination that the monad has, the divine self has, to resurrect in form will come at the cost of the old. Now, the challenges one may face in the body as one begins this passage are several. You may actually feel the self feeling deterred, or feel the self not wishing to accommodate the energy, and you may always, always, always say, "Thank you, no." You may always, always say, "Perhaps another day, perhaps another hour, perhaps another lifetime," if you wish. The monad, in its action to reclaim all aspects, will still be understood through the will itself, who can say, "Later, please. Respite, please. I need time to shift first, please." He interrupts the teaching, "But isn't it true that you have said that once the claim is made, 'I have come,' the action of the monad will not be deterred?" Indeed, that is accurate, and it continues to be the case. But the monad is operating outside of your idea of personal time and space. You do understand this, that the template of the divine is actually present in multiple realities in simultaneity. understand what this means. There is a version of you operating in deep density here in the common field, but there are other versions of self that operate beyond the linearity of space and time as you utilize space and time. And there are aspects of self that are completely realized and fulfilled. By lifting you to the upper room, we are simply claiming you in identification with the aspect of self that has already claimed itself there. So in fact, all that is occurring is the airplane that you may understand yourself as is lifting into itself at the higher level, moving beyond the old density that it has known itself through. And as this occurs, everything within that plane needs to be able to be supported at the new height, the new level of tonal accord or frequency that the vehicle itself has expanded to. Now, we say this for the man in the chair. This is not a teaching for the text. This is for those in the room, that they may have an understanding of the process that they are undergoing. But each one must also understand that the level of intonation that you can conduct, the level of vibration that you can hold, is under the auspices of the soul and what the soul can agree to. When you make the claim that you're only open and receptive to that which is for your highest good in the perfect amounts needed, you are actually being instructed to understand that although the drink may be lovely to the taste, you cannot drink too much of it at one time without becoming sick. And to understand that the internal monitor that you have supports you in this through decree or intention is useful. The safety of this instruction is actually beyond what you think. The safety of this instruction is instilled in the teaching itself, because nothing can be accrued in evidence of fear in the upper room unless a human being decides that these are lessons he or she requires to learn through. So we say this to each of you. The instruction you will be receiving in the coming days will be acclimating you to a level of tone beyond what you have experienced thus far. And whilst the physical body may have some adjustments to make, nobody is left behind, and also nobody is taken to a level of identification or vibration that he or she cannot accrue and align to in an awareness of self. Now, what that means is, even though you are light and that is what you are, we do not displace identity. Identity is reclaimed in the upper room. It is not abandoned.
Take it away, Amy.
Good morning, everyone. Anybody have any comments about what we just heard before yeah, I have a few too. I'm sure that we all do. Rana, you're up.
Yeah, first of all, he used the word miasma, which I have never heard before, so I immediately looked it up because I love words. Get ready for this. A dangerous, foul-smelling vapor or bad air rising from rotting organic matter. In figurative speech, it means heavy, oppressive, or demoralizing. Man, that's pretty heavy. That feels like the world, right? It kind of feels like the
Yeah.
world. And the other thing that really, when he was talking about the silt in the water and the glass, Regina Don Akers teaches in a similar way about, you've got a clear glass of water and that silt is on the bottom. And as we start learning about this stuff, it kind of shakes it up a little bit and it starts bringing it to the top. And for me, it's like, all these ego things start hitting you in the face, but the more water that's poured in, it'll get clearer and clearer and clearer. So that encourages me to keep going, keep suiting up and showing up for whatever it is. So
Yeah,
it was a good video.
it was a good video. I agree. Anybody else have anything?
Well, something about it for me is that being honest with where I'm at, that I'm stuck with right now. And I have the learnings, but where I'm actually functioning seems to be at a lower level of vibration or whatever. And just the little interaction we had earlier about having a mind or having a body versus not, it's it's the body of all. So I can go to the all or one. We're all one. But I function so often, honestly, that it's freeing to me instead of being my mind, being my body. I have a body, I have a mind. And it feels like that's on the way to letting go, whatever's going to be let go of. But I just have to, I find myself wanting to be honest with where I'm at, not where I think I should be or where other people are at. That's fine. I'll get wherever I get. So I just wanted to say that, and I appreciate the confrontation with myself. So thank you.
I really appreciate that, William. And what he said about the shadow side trying to hide stuff and not bring it up, trying to the detritus and the miasma that Rana was talking about, trying to pretend it doesn't exist, but it has to be gone through and brought out in order to be released. You can't release what you don't see. And that's partly why I just go back to the Course in Miracles all the time. And my function, as long as I'm in this body, as long as I have this body, as William said, is to forgive it. That's my function. And that kind of lifts me when I realize, oh, that's actually my job. And I didn't give myself that job. Source gave me that job. So that's kind of where I go with that. And the multiple simultaneous realities. I really liked that. And I liked the image of the lower self in the lower self airplane lifting up into the higher self airplane and just becoming one with it. I thought that was an interesting image. That's all I've got. Sandra,
Good morning.
good morning.
I have a question. At the end, the guides were saying about lifting into the upper room that identity is reclaimed in the upper room. It's not abandoned and is acclimating to a new level. What identity were they talking about? Because I got a little mixed up. Anybody know?
I think the identity of the small self, like our kind of personality structure, is what they were referring to. But I think, like, included within that definition is that idea of inherent separateness from,
Yes.
yeah, our community, our everything, like our surroundings. Yeah,
So it's not the egoic personality self.
I think that's included in that.
It's okay.
For me, what that means is that being my mind body versus having my mind body, those are just two different identities. And yet, the upper room, I can claim the truth of all one. But where I'm at, where I notice I'm aware of, is this identity. And I'll just claim it and then let it go too. I just like to think that there's all this going on, but I'm just happen to be stuck at this level. Not even stuck. I'm just noticing. I'm aware of it. It's just much easier for me to notice and then let's go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like it's kind of like a framework for attachment. Like it's kind of all of this exists in simultaneity, but what we're doing is shifting our focus and agreeing to something a little different, or maybe like that exists in its inherency, but it like maybe isn't the cultural norm per per se.
What I loved was that nothing is left, nothing and no one
I
is
can't
left
hear you.
behind. You can't hear me? Let me just fix. Let me put my headphones on. Maybe it's tuned to that.
Now it's better.
It's better now. So what stood out for me was the nothing is left, nothing and no one is left behind. And so when you asked about the reclaiming, Sandra, what immediately came to me was seeing anew and seeing through the lens from the upper room. Can you hear me? Yeah. I get this sense that there seems to be, as we listen, okay, there seems to be this sense of an expectation of something hugely different. And I believe what they've been teaching us is that the change is subtle and progressive. And so that expectation of something hugely different may be what throws us off from realizing we're already in the middle of it.
Yeah, and yet he said the change in terms of the physical change is vast and far more than we can imagine.
We're so used to when we feel something different, deciding something must be wrong, I must be doing something wrong, it all must be wrong and fucked up, as opposed to, that's my new motto, curiosity over fear. So as opposed to being curious about the difference and going into collaboration to explore it, to see what it is, to get a clearer picture of it without the fear.
Yeah. Thank you. I see it as a series of nested dolls. And right now we are in the smallest nested doll possible. And that's all we think we are. And we're moving into the next doll that is outside of us. And we're going to see from that perspective. And that will include the limited self, the egoic self, but it will be seen in a new way that we can't even really imagine at this point. So that's where Lonnie, yeah, I'm not sure I can really imagine it, but I think what Lonnie's saying is that if we go into it with an open mind and as little fear as possible, we'll see more sooner. Yeah. If you can think of it in terms of time and space.
Well, because fear blurs the lens. It creates shadows, it creates different colorings, it creates places that you can't even see into because fear doesn't allow it. So fear blurs your lens.
Yeah.
When we can have a clearer lens to just look at it for what it is, without story, without judgment, even an experience is happening in the moment. It's really like this 3-second thing that feels like it goes on forever. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's as simple as taking the cloth and rubbing the lens or walking away from the friggin' lens to the next one.
All right. Okay, so we can start our reading. We are on page 70. Is that right? No, we're on page 71 on that first paragraph. Now each plane of vibration. So, I can just go through, let's see, on my screen, it's William, May, Sandra, Livy, Lonnie, Alka, and Indigo. That's who I can see. That's who has Rana, Sandra, Rana, Livy, Lonnie. So if you're okay with it, I'm just gonna go across my screen and ask William if he'll read first, and maybe read um, to page 72 to the end of that paragraph at the top of page 72. But you have to unmute. William, unmute. There you go.
Yep. Page 71, what paragraph?
now each plane of vibration. Sounds
Okay,
like a
got
good
it. Got it. Got it. Now, each plane of vibration holds simple rules that must be confirmed by your alignment to them. The manifest plane, or the common field, which has been structured through separation, and by structured, we mean experienced by and through a template that you have formed in separation, holds a mandate that God is other, or must be sought, or discovered, or bequeathed upon a precious few. To realize the divine as the air you breathe, as the sun and the rain, as your neighbor, is very different. But there are rules at this level as well. What are these rules, he asked. You haven't spoken of rules before. Indeed, we have not. If the upper room has any rules, and only one rule, it would be inclusiveness. Nothing can be kept out of its true basis being the source of all things that must be present, even if the information that you would endow it with would seek to bring you to another idea. The flood is God. The sunset is God. The cataclysmic, God. Now the cataclysm is man-made. You blow up a building, you've chosen to blow up a building. But if God is present in the foundation of the vibration of that building, God is still present. And you must understand that you are enacted by fear, by being told what to fear and who to fear, and then participating in collective ways of warring with fear. You will not win a war with fear because you cannot fight it except at its own level. Do you understand that? If you have to go to a low vibration to surmount fear, it is already ahead of you. I like that.
Mm.
You know, when I read, I see I get in the way of my digesting it in the moment. And so I will reread this so I don't have that many reactions to it right at the moment.
Do you want to keep reading?
Well, I can do that. Oh man, oh yeah, it is fun. Yeah, yeah. There's no right way. Sure. Imagine going to a country where they have booby trapped everything. Boy, isn't that something? That's a great image.
Mm.
That's like going to these Coney Island or something. You never know. You touch something, it's everything is something different. You will not win the battle. You go to the battle beyond the idea of battle, beyond the idea of discord, to a level of tone where you can create a velocity in a collective way to regard all things in a higher order. Oh, wow. Imagine that. And then all things indeed are lifting. To battle fear is to claim fear as a victor of its own terrain. So that's an interesting thought. To lift fear is actually go to a level of tonality where fear does not exist. And by starving fear, not agreeing to fear, not going into consort with it, you lift the vibration that was called fear to what it can only be, which is the source of all things known as fear. When you realize that you seek to eradicate things by putting them outside the light, you will see how you give darkness credence. When you realize that you justify acts as necessary that claim carnage and brutality and death, you will realize that what you are justifying is your own demise. You must stop this, one and all. Can it be stopped? He asked. Of course it can be stopped by a new agreement.
There was a part of that where I was really looking at the Bhagavad Gita, and I was thinking about the conversation between Arjuna and Krishna when Krishna tells Arjuna that all of the battlefield soldiers are already dead. So Arjuna doesn't really want to go into battle. And it really is an interesting conversation.
Is that an example of life is lived forward and understood backwards?
Say that again.
Is that an example of life is lived forward and understood backwards?
Mm. Sandra.
Back on page 71, there's a couple of sentences that I found reassuring. And there was this little voice that said, this might be controversial, don't bring it up. But here I am. It's talking about all the things that happen. The flood is God, the sunset is God, the cataclysm God. Now, the cataclysm is man-made. You blow up a building, you have chosen to blow up a building. But if God is present in the foundation of the vibration of that building, God is still present. And then it goes on to say, you're enacted by fear. And then it talks about fear for quite a while. So I found it reassuring because in my mind, when we say everything is God, I feel like God is good. God is not raping and pillaging. Men are doing that, men and women. And it's because they've forgotten who they are and they don't know who they are and they are motivated by fear. That doesn't mean the essence of God isn't there. Like God is still in the foundation. They're talking about a building here, but so anyway, I like that. That fits more with my beliefs. But I've struggled sometimes with the teachings. You know this, Amy. You know how I've struggled. And you've tried to help me.
We've all struggled.
So that is like, yes. I mean, my heart said yes to those lines. So that's all.
Thank you, Sandra. I think that's I'm glad you raised that. Thank you for joining my team of being the little bit of the rebel and asking the questions that you think you don't know what they're going to do. But let's ask Lonnie to say her piece. What you got, Lonnie?
Good morning, family. Sandra, I went right to that same damn passage. Literally those words. And there's this little dance that happens in my system when I hear the flood is God, the sunset is God, the cataclysm is God. It's this little dance that happens of yes, 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 yes. I and I often hear people say God is good, but I'm confused by that because I don't know what good is. I don't know what bad is because that's often based on what one's description or one's definition of what that means is. But if all is God, then there is no good or bad. It all just is. It all is God being God in whatever way. Yes, God just is, Livy. But I love the rest of that too. And you must understand that you are enacted by fear by being told what to fear, who to fear, and then participating in the collective ways of warring with fear. You will not win the war with fear because you cannot fight it except at its own level. And what I realize in this being here is I'm going to say it my way, not the way I'm being told to say it. I love this being so much. This being is so filled with love until I would not place it. We get a visual of that place of fear, like being a muck puddle, a mud puddle. I love this being so much so as not to place it into that, to then go dragging others into it. Because what we damns us. So the image I get is I have to go in the mud, pull the other one in, and then stay there with my foot atop them to keep them there. And so I love this being so much I wouldn't put it through that. God loves this being it through its being so much until it doesn't. So when I run into that place of the cataclysm or all of those other things, there's my motto again. I'm curious about its purpose. If this too is God, then how does it serve? That's always my question. And yeah, God is in the foundation of that building, but God is also in the soul of the person who pressed the button for the bomb. All is God. That's my banner.
Thank you for that. I love that. Do you mind if I just say a little more about it? At the end of where William finished reading on the next page, they're talking about carnage, brutality, and death. It says these words, "You must stop this one and all." Can it be stopped? Of course it can be stopped by a new agreement.
So if my
There
agreement,
is a judgment there. There's a judgment.
yeah.
And the one question that will not leave me alone, I want to just let it go. But it's like, why am I reading these books? Why am I reading The Course in Miracles? Why am I reading these books? Why am I here all the time trying to learn and participate? And I think these books were given to us for purpose. And that purpose is trying to engage us in a way to stop this one and all, to participate in the stopping this. So I feel that my soul will not let me say that God perpetuated some of the horrors on this earth. It just will not, because I have known God. I have been in the arms of God, or whatever we call God. It's not a person, but so that's where I keep getting stuck. And I see a lot of hands up. Thank
Can
you
I
for
just say one
indulging me.
thing?
And Amy, yes, I am a rebel at heart.
Can I
Well,
just say one more
I'm
thing before
there's
we
so
go
much
on?
that I want to say, but I really want to hear what everybody else says. But
Can
the
I just say one
bonuses,
more thing before I shut up?
sure.
It really took me back, Sandra, to an early teaching that I received about witnessing the bum on the street and the horrible story I would tell when I saw that bum on the street about how horrible life must be for that being, and oh, what must have happened, and all of the story that would come. And so, what the teaching asked is, what if that soul came here to live that? And my naming it a horrible situation doesn't change their experience of it, but it does change mine.
Okay, I just have to bring the Bhagavad Gita back into this because Arjuna is not sure that he wants to go to war. And Krishna tells him, you have to do what you have to do. And he shows him throughout the course of the story the vastness of God, the absolute, and Arjuna is scared shitless by it. And I just want to say it is entirely possible that everything everyone's said here is correct at its own level. So yes, Lonnie's right. Souls come to experience the harshness and their God experiencing itself as that. And so God is there in the rape and in the war, but also it is chosen, the violence is chosen out of ignorance. And as John said, we are being called to make a new agreement, as Sandra pointed out. So it's vast and far more than we can imagine, as the guide said. So yeah, Alka says I need constant reminding, and Rana says Paul says it's the vibration of the books that makes us anew. So this is good. Okay, Indigo, then Livy, then William, and then Alka. Indigo, you've got the floor.
Um, yeah, it just reminds me how, God just told me everything is perfect, exactly as it is. Bring it in, love it. Even if you hate it, bring it in and love it. It's here for me. And so I just like, oh, okay. And I've learned that I don't know what anything is for. And so when I have that thought or whatever, that's just a thought. And it's not mine. And I've learned to bring it in. And that I don't know. So yeah, that's what I want to share.
Thank you. Thank you, Indigo. All right, Livy.
I love you, Indigo. Thank you so much for that. For so long, I wrote a song 30 something years ago that said, love can heal this war I rage within. I've been my own worst enemy. I've just had wars going in my head, and it was about 3 years ago when it got really loud after my dad passed and different things started happening. And one night I went to bed and it was really loud and the war was really strong. And I got up out of the bed, and it was the first time that I got up out of the bed and I just said, love is here. I just claimed love for the first time. And I just said, love is here. And it didn't completely all dissipate at one time, but I could feel an inner resolve or strength that I had never felt before. And I realized that love is more powerful, that love is. And that was a really powerful moment. And then to continue in taking these courses and coming to an open door the past 3 years, and it's just really opened me up even more to living more in the space of love and trust that all is God. And so when the war starts to come, rather than getting fearful, I'm like, oh, love's not here. Let's pour some love on this. You know, God's not in that. Let's bring, let's remember that. And, I don't do it perfectly, but it's like Sandra said that people forget who they are. And you know, it's if I believe in the inclusiveness and the power that is in love, which is what God is, then it's kind of up to me to shine that light on the places that it's not. I can say, forgive them for they know not what they do, and which can be more difficult at different times. And at the same time, see them for the love that they are in truth, and to be able to see the light that they maybe can't see. And that has to first start with me, to see that in myself before I can give that out. And that's what I feel like I'm learning to do here and through all of y'all's teachings. And hot damn, we got some fucking awesome teachers here. I mean, we really, really do. And I'm just incredibly grateful for each and every one of you, that help and guide me to that. And I remember about 30 years ago, a friend of mine telling me that she saw a video or read somewhere when the Buddhist nuns in Nepal or wherever were being raped by the soldiers, and that they would just look at the soldiers that were raping them and say, I love you, while they're being raped, and I'm definitely not to that point yet, but that, to be able to see love even while you're being ravaged, is that's a vibration that's way, way. So anyway, thank y'all so much and for guiding me and teaching me on a daily basis. I love y'all.
Thank you, Livy. Right back at you. Okay, William, Alka, and then Lonnie.
Just to kind of echo, I think, what I'm hearing from you, Livy. When I've been stuck with, like, for instance, a reason with a nephew, and I could feel us butting heads, that phrase, God is still present, I look at, well, what would love have to say? And so I went to bed that night, and sure enough, love had something else to say. Is that in trying to get rid or battle fear, as he says, you cannot fight it except on its own level. And that's what, when I focus on the fear, on the it's fighting it at its own level, and God is present. And so it's like you go beyond the battle, beyond the idea of discord. You create a velocity in a way that all things are in a higher order. So I just see that over and over. It's perfect. And when I listen to people like Panache, it's just everything's perfect. It is. It's just that's the way it is. That's the way it is. It's a new agreement. Oh, another new agreement. That new agreement is, what would love have to say? Thank you.
You're speaking about Panache Desai. Yeah, thank you. All right, Alka, finally, you've been patient.
I have been patient, but I have nothing to say anymore because everybody said everything I was going to say anyway. But I will only, my experience in the recent months has been that when, well, it happens all the time, but I only notice it when something unpleasant happens in my life. I can see how the universe has moved things around for me to have that particular experience. I see that again and again now. So I think things don't just happen. They happen because the universe makes them happen because somebody needs a particular experience. Now, there is a lot of violence and things happening in the world, and I question sometimes why and what for, but I am sure the universe has its own reason. And if you will be patient with me, I have a little story about Swami Vivekanand. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
So he was visiting this temple in Kashmir, which had been destroyed by the raiders. And when he saw it, he was inside the temple, and he was used to talk to the goddess a lot. And he was really angry, wondering how was it that this was destroyed, and if he was there, he would not have let it be destroyed. He would have died in the attempt. And the goddess asked him, well, are you protecting me or am I protecting you? And he said, oh, okay. But then I will rebuild it again. I will build a bigger, better temple. And she said, if I wanted a temple, I would have rebuilt it a long time ago. And so from there, he started to actually understand that everything was her, not just the good things that happened. That was not only her, it was everything. Everything is her. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I think that's so great. That's a really good story. I love that story. Thank you for telling that. So destruction and rebirth are joined, right? They're always joined, and we don't see the larger pattern, even though we are part of the larger pattern, and we have agreed to the pattern at some level, right? It's all in agreement. Even the choice to be upset about it, right? Because it's always an opportunity. And I think that's what is meant with God is present in the foundation of the vibration of the building. So even as the building is destroyed by a seemingly stupid decision, the vibration of that building is still emanating out, and it's always love. It hasn't been changed. It's still love. Right. That's hard for us to grasp. I don't always get it for sure. Lonnie.
So I put my hand up to say something else, but right now what is really vibrating through is love stands in the face of all destruction, the seeming destruction. Some time ago, I was invited or given an opportunity for a new consideration. And it's the new consideration of the definitions that people in the medical community use to say that I was an illness and that my existence was an illness. So the consideration was to go back and revisit. And, we know now that those things that were aren't anymore. But as long as I kept telling the story of the wounding and whatever, I kept bringing it forward. But it was an invitation to go back and re-see it and revisit all of those moments that people use to say, well, this is why you're like you are. And what we came to realize is that these were altars, ALTARS, that this being came here to stand before, and not some place where some alternative personality developed, you know? And once we came into that understanding, we could get curious about a whole bunch of other stuff too that we were telling stories about, but seeing through a different lens. about a week ago when I was in New York. So it's 2 weeks ago now. One of those old stories came up. Someone asked a question, and one of those old stories of from back there of what happened came up. And it was discussed. And here's what I found out: it has absolutely no charge anymore. No ability to trigger, no ability, nothing. It doesn't, it's like it's empty air in the telling because I no longer claim it as mine or something that happened to me. Once I recognized the ways in which it happened for me, all of how I carried it disintegrated because now there's a new truth that is here and something that feels closer to the truth. So,
Thank you. Thank you. All right. May is now moved to the next reader, to be the next reader. So I'm going to ask May if she would read from Now We Spoke of a Community and maybe to that first paragraph on the next page. Okay.
Gotcha. All right. Now, we spoke of a community where things were other, where people have decided other things. We must expand the idea of community beyond the exclusivity it has been endowed with. We pray this way in our ashram. They pray that way in theirs. Understand that prayer is communion. You can pray with anything, to anything that you feel like, which means to be in communion with it. To move into communion with the ones beside you is to include them in how they pray and realize commonality. Realize is to know. You manage to make your enemies other in order to deny them their inherent light. You decide to criminalize groups of people in order to decide they don't matter or should be shunned. Now, who you criminalize is generally based in two ideas: a common moral field, what you decide should be or be allowed, and your determination to extinguish something that looks other than you. We are using this metaphor intentionally. Now, something can be criminal. You can steal something and have to pay for it, either with time or with another thing, but you are responsible to what you create. The dominion we hold claims a unified field where all are welcome, and if you are denying anyone their right to be, inclusive of the criminal, you have put them in darkness and aligned them to that level as well. How will we do this? Paul asks. There is so much wrong, so much frustration, so much fear. We cannot conquer this. You need not conquer it. You are using the terminology of battle for something that requires love. When you love the criminal, when you know the God within them, when you release the need for names you have given them, they may be healed of whatever their impulses are. If somebody is hurting the community, they may be touched in a higher way and reknown as worthy of being. When the one who has been reared in darkness enacts the darkness she has been taught by, she is a difficult addition to any community. But the loving of her will not only to heal her, but the loving of her will not only heal her, it will support the community in operating in a much higher way. When you decide that somebody should be put away, not tolerated, withheld from the community, you are deciding that somebody isn't there, as if they will be vanquished from the sight by being put behind a wall. The wall is a claim that you have made, and by doing this, you have put yourself behind the same wall. Who you put in darkness calls you to the darkness.
Did anybody think of the war on drugs?
I have a really good shirt with that on it.
Yeah, I love
But
that.
yeah,
You
I
were
mean,
using a terminology of battle for something that requires love.
it's a shirt from The Onion and it says drugs win drug war.
Drugs.
But yeah, I've been reading Food of the Gods, and it's just kind of it's this run through of like how we are so dependent, and like how sugar completely ruined the world. Like with like colonialism and like just like slavery. Like our addiction to sugar, and it's still like completely like permeating through today. And it's like it's such a cause of sickness, but we're so prone to like allow alcohol, which is like we're very like and meat, and like we're very sugar um like sugar, alcohol, meat kind of culture. And coffee, like I'm addicted to coffee, but like it's like another kind of stimulant and drug that like has perpetually caused so much suffering over the last couple thousand years. Like it's but like these are just like agreements that we haven't fully released. Yeah.
Wow. The sugar one is, wow. I know that that's true. I hadn't thought about that in a while.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of
Yeah,
like
baby. Yeah,
it's something we're just so used to, but
yeah,
it's really like
yeah. It's addictive.
yeah.
Oh gosh. Good morning, Richard. Glad to see you. Good to see you. Oops, we lost you.
Hit the wrong button. Morning, everyone. Great shares. I'd like to go back to the previous conversation and share my experience with what is. I've gotten to a point where I'm playing with it right now. With reality isness, is vibration. It's a non-physical force energy. We call this energy God. We call it love. And if you look at the three states of being, deep sleep, dream state, and waking state, if we, in the waking state or in the dream state, ideas arise in the mind. And these ideas, these thoughts, are the basis of manifestation in time, space, and form. And these ideas that are not physical form the physical world we all experience. And therefore, the divine is in every thought, and the divine is in everything we make with the thought. So, regardless of what we judge a particular thing to be, it is still from the divine. And so everything is of the divine. As what we make of it that matters. And when we can see the love and the peace in everything that is, then we rise to a higher frequency, which I think the guides are trying to teach us to do. That we made everything we see and experience with our thoughts, including the separate self. And the separate self, the ego, is nothing but a collection of ideas. It's not real. And neither are we. The physical world, or the dualistic world of space, time, and form, does not exist in reality. It's a fabrication of ideas that we manifested. So now we play with this, and we come here to learn how to purify the essence of the self and be the love that we are in truth, in every thought, word, and deed. And the more our thoughts are loving, the more we create a more loving experience in the world. So I love all your shares. That's where I'm at right now. I don't expect anybody to agree with me but it helps me be the love that I am moment to moment by believing what I just shared with you. Love us all.
Thank you, Richard. You always seem to bring us back to the fundamentals. Really appreciate that. Okay, the next person on my screen to read is Livy. She's who's up next for me now. And we're from Now This Is Not Folly. Maybe you could read to the top of page 74, Livy. Thank you.
Can y'all hear me okay? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is not folly. You may have ways of protecting what is valuable until you understand that the value you give anything is born in an historical idea. My fine watch, her fine purse. You may understand that as long as these things are held in secret, I will hide my money. I will barricade my door. You are operating in fear. To protect the self from the lower octave is to maintain the higher vibration. The higher vibration is maintained when you align to the trust that is there and in benefit to you from the upper room. Now, understand this. We are not saying that people should go about raiding their parents' homes, raiding their neighbors' bedrooms, doing all sorts of things without consequence. But, indeed, the consequence is already there. It is how you respond to the individual and the situation that must be understood now. If someone is harming another and you are, in a present way, witness to it, you may be honored to act upon the impulse to stop the fight. You do this in compassion and in an awareness of who the others are in a higher way. If you are not present, you hold them both in equality, in equal love. You may realize that they cannot abide together, that they are choosing hard lessons through their interaction. But you must understand that the mandate is not to join the fight by meeting them at the level of fear that they are operating from. Now, outrage may hold a place. Denying the ability to act upon a bad impulse may be permitted. But you must understand that the agreement you are making here is to a new idea or a new template, and you cannot bring the old to the upper room. You cannot bring the electric chair to the upper room. It has no place there. You cannot bring allowance of poverty to the upper room. It does not exist there. So if you wish work and work with your hands, feed the ones that require food. Nourish the ones that require care. Love the one who believes he cannot be loved. It is challenging, yes, but only to the small self who has not yet learned that God, or what you would call God, is love, and indeed loves through you without exclusion.
Without exclusion.
And see, that's what really rings true, because though it's without I bring it all back to my inner self, because there's just been a lot of war going on, and that's why the practice has been to recognize that all is God and all is love, and to bring that into the parts of myself that haven't experienced that. And because like Amy has said before, it begins with me. I can't give what I don't have,
Mm.
and if I'm in fear, that's what I project out. My cats really keep me in check with that, they keep my energy level. But it's, yeah, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me, and learning how to bring that to the self, the parts of me that don't know what it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Really interesting. Interesting. Um, if we have time later, I'll share a story, but it doesn't matter whether I do or not. Rana, you're up next. What you got?
It does matter. I love you. I love your stories, but I get it, what you're saying.
Yeah.
So this is what occurs to me. As I was reading, there were just certain things that were getting highlighted. So in the it is how you respond to the individual and the situation that must be understood. So what it occurs to me is anytime I see something and there is judgment, there is now a war immediately on a individual level, right? I'm having a war with the way things are. And so what it's asking me is to bring compassion and be in awareness of who others are in a higher way. I can do that throughout my whole day, you know? And as we've talked many times, as I'm willing to do this in my little space, my little local space, it wafts out globally, you know? But do I want to be at war anymore with everything what is? I don't. And so it's just pointing to this individual war for me that's going on within the self, you know. The mandate is not to join the fight by meeting them at the level of fear that they are operating from, or that the mind is operating from in that moment. You know, it's such a blessing to start seeing how things get claimed in fear. I'm not at the point where I recognize it and then I choose again, right? It's still kind of hindsight about it, but I think the gift is not to be at war with anything, the big and the little.
Mm,
There's no order of difficulty, right?
yeah.
No order of miracles. So that's what I'm being fed this morning. Thanks.
Thank you. And to see it in hindsight is actually just to relearn, to give yourself the opportunity to relearn it. I just want to read something that we read last night uh, in the Advaita class, the Advaita gathering. It's from paragraph 5 in section 3, which is the correction of fear. It's on page 334. I'm just going to read it. When a brother behaves insanely, you can heal him only by perceiving the sanity in him. For if you perceive his errors and accept them, you are accepting yours. If you want to give yours over to the Holy Spirit, if you want to give yours over to the Holy Spirit, you must do this with his. And unless this becomes the one way in which you handle all errors, you cannot understand, underlined, how all errors are undone. It's right there.
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking again. Okay. So
I can't either, Sandra. It's just too much. Will you stop?
so I'm like this energy comes through. I agree with everything that's been, almost everything that's been said about loving and having compassion and seeing the light in people. It has transformed my life. It's all true. And yet, when we say we're going to heal the insanity, that's saying there is insanity. And that's saying there's something that needs to be healed. And I don't know if you follow my logic there, but even through, I mean, I read all of this so differently. I believe these guides are speaking the truth. I believe what they're saying. I don't really know why there's more than one and we call them guides. I don't know any of that, but I feel like the words that come through are true. And everything I read is like saying, there's a better way. There's a better way to live. There's a way to live in light and love. And I'm not saying that God isn't in everything, but I am saying that there are errors in thinking and false beliefs. We know that. We've had them. And people act from those. And I do not believe, and I am still not convinced, maybe I never will be, that those are acts of God. I think they were acts of the ego. And I can see the difference in my small little life when I'm coming from the egoic, um, error-filled, mistaken beliefs point of view, or when I remember the truth. And when we see the perfection in the person and not the insanity, we are helping them. That's what we're being asked to do. We're being asked to do something. And if everything was just great the way it is, we wouldn't be asked to be doing anything. Why would we do anything at all?
Yeah, and that is exactly what A Course says.
Yeah, it's like,
Exactly.
so it isn't that I'm judging people. I mean, I'm them and they are me. It's that I am convinced that, yeah, that we have a this our source is beautiful and loving, and I will not let go of that. I can't. So thanks for indulging me, everyone, today.
Yeah. Libby says the movie Dead Man Walking is such a good example of the sister choosing to see love. That was quite the movie, if anyone has seen it. That was really disturbing. Yes, level confusion. Yes, John, level confusion. Yes. Thank you. John, before Lonnie speaks, John, you haven't spoken yet today. Do you want to explain level confusion? We talked about this last night. You have to unmute, John.
Yeah, I think I'd be here all day for me to I think it's worthwhile just explore the topic on your own and see what comes up for you. But basically, it's not a case of instead of, but in addition to. So that's very simply I can say that. But I'm really enjoying the conversation today. Thank you. I want to say what William said earlier on struck me most of all of the things that I've heard today. He says, thank you, and I appreciate you. And I want to say thank you, and I appreciate you all too. You raised me to a higher level, and I'm so grateful. I'll be eternally grateful for this meeting. God bless you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. So level confusion is it's a very interesting course concept, and we talked about it last night during the Advaita class, and we can talk about it again if anyone wants to. But let's close out. It's 11:15. Lonnie, can you you take the last word, and then I'll hand it back over to Rana.
So the last word is a quick story. In other parts of my life, I do work around race and getting people to talk and share lived experiences of race to get the conversation started between people. This summer, I was in a youth academy doing a speech and a conversation with kids from grade 5 to 9. And one of their mentors, we invite the mentors there to also share, was a 20-something-year-old young Black man, highly regarded within the program. And in the conversation, he shared, I hate white people. I've hated them forever. There's no value in them. All they do is hurt. And we are a Black and white presentation group. And he said it. And instead of being shunned, we all got curious and started asking questions about it. How did it come forward? Where did it come from? And as he talked about it and connected with some of the roots of it, he broke down in tears. And he finally said, I just can't walk like this anymore. I can't walk with this hate. And we got a chance, not just us, but his students got a chance to witness in front of their eyes his changing perception. And at the end of the workshop, the first people he walked up and hugged were the white members of our group, and giving thanks for the opportunity to change something he hadn't been able to change. So meeting him where he wasn't working. Meeting him in love, the only thing that could be done.
Yeah. And Lonnie, isn't that a great example of letting go of the fear? So he
Yes.
was able to put his fear out in front and center in a room full of people, and he was able to transcend it.
And for the white women in our group and the white people that were in the audience, there was that transcendence of the fear of someone saying that and going in closer and embracing him.
Work both ways.
Filled with so much love by the end. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Thanks for sharing that. That's a great place to end.
Yes.
So next week we're going to be on, if you want to mark your book, we'll be on page 74, a mandate of separation. So we'll be right there at the top of page 74, that first paragraph. And I've noted that, so I know where we're going to begin. We got further than I thought we would. It was a lot of good conversation. Thank you for that support, John. And Rana, you're going to close us out.
Yeah, I don't have much to say other than thank you everybody for joining. Really enlivening conversation for me here as well. Thanks for everyone's participation, and I will stop the recording.
Thank you.